We're going to act like we didn't just see Apple airlifted 1.5 million iPhones from India. What's what kind just to avoid tariffs? This is crazy. 6 cargo planes. They had 600 tons of smartphones, all scrambled. All of them trying to get into America's ports, man, just to avoid tariffs. Yeah, this really happened. Apple isn't just innovating tech anymore. They're into innovating smuggling, phone smuggling. And while they were flying iPhones across the continents, what were you doing? You're just probably trying to afford one. But those tariffs, man, they're about to make the next iPhone cost more than the average rent. We're talking $2,300 iPhones like they weren't expensive enough. Man, they got the globe in a panic. Factories are working Sundays, and Tim Cook basically was crying about this and snuck the phones out of the country. And that's not just a story about Apple. It's how one tweet, one policy, and one scramble expose a whole house of cards behind global tech. Let's talk about the airlift, the madness, and how it could all backfire on them, and especially you. Now, I just want you to picture this iPhone escape. They had 1.5 million iPhones boxed up, in Chennai, India. And each phone weighs about 350 grams for those people working in the darkness. Do the math. That's 600 tons of Apple gear. And it also included, I think, MacBooks too. And they shoved them onto 6 cargo jets. And those jets were airlifted straight to U.S. cities like LA, New York, Chicago, and San Fran. All the beat Trump's 125% import tariff on Chinese goods. Why from India? Because the tariffs on India is just 26%, not 125%. And thanks to the 90-day pause, it was temporarily nothing, I think 10%. Apple saw a loophole and they jumped to it. But this wasn't a last minute move. They've been planning this for over 8 months. How did they know that the tariffs were coming? I guess all the hints and stuff, they took it serious just in case. And Apple even lobbied India to create a green corridor. It's like a fast lane to the airport so they could get it. Now, customs cleared, it went from 30 hours, which is the usual clearance time, to 6 hours. And that's not shipping. That's called teleporting. That's how fast they wanted to get it out. And it's the same trick Apple used in China, but this time they needed it to survive. Because if those phones had been delayed, every day could have cost them tens of millions. You don't fly 6 planes full of phones unless you're desperate or brilliant. I thought it was brilliant. I think it's funny though, but very brilliant. You know, is this innovative or is it corporate panic? Either way, it's impressive. We got to remember that these margins are small on these products. We think we're paying a lot, but it exchanges so many hands. By the time the company finally makes some money from it, it could be a very small percentage. So those tariffs, they're not being greedy by passing it to us. They kind of have to. But let's talk about the Sunday factory hustle. Foxconn, Apple's main manufacturing partner, cranked production up to 20% in India. They called in more workers. They even opened factories on Sundays. And Sundays in India, it's a sacred day. That's how sacred it got. That's how serious it got. And we're not just talking iPhones. Apple was also airlifting MacBooks and iPads. Anything over $3,000 in value. Dell, Lenovo, and Microsoft joined the panic playing party too. Multiple companies all sprinting to beat the same deadline. This wasn't just an Apple thing. This was a full-blown tech evacuation. Now, as far as the tariff Armageddon, let's talk about this. Let's talk numbers. 125% tariff on Chinese electronics. That means the iPhone 16 Pro Max, currently at $1,600, could possibly be $2,300. That's a 43% price bump. And the budget iPhone 16e, the one we like to get our parents, it's going to go from $600 to $856. There's no way mom's getting an Apple now. Even a basic $799 iPhone could end up near $1,100. And those aren't minor tweaks. This is a full-blown price spike. Apple might try to eat some of the cost, but not all of it. Since they understand and everybody understands it's a tariff, they're like, hey man, pass it to the people. And don't forget, this is a company that charges $20 for a polishing clause. Let's not kid ourselves. They're not going to try to scoop up any money and put it in your pocket. Now, can Apple pass this on? Uh, Analysts say Apple might not be able to pass on more than 5 or 10% of the cost to consumers without backlash. Their Apple Intelligence feature, not enough to justify $700 price hike. And if prices go up without enough innovation to match, sales could slump hard. That's why some analysts say this whole tariff move could cost Apple over $40 billion. Let that sink in. $40 billion. For context, that's about the gross domestic product of Jordan, maybe? Jordan the place, not the basketball player. Meanwhile, Samsung over there sipping tea, enjoying lower tariffs thanks to South Korea's sweet trade position. So if you're Apple, you're getting squeezed from every angle. Can't raise prices too much and can't shift factories overnight. And consumers, they're getting squeezed right along with them. Now let's talk about this panic buying in the US. Apple fans are rushing to the stores like it's a Black Friday. Buy now before it costs more than a car. Well, it is a down payment on a car. People are hoarding like it's a PS5 drop during lockdown. But how long can Apple's airlift stash last? A little side note, since we are a finance channel, if you want to, I would suggest that you guys get you some Apple iPhones if you could afford it. Maybe it will be a big markup and you can make a little money. Who knows if that's true, but maybe not, So let's talk about how India won for now. On the flip side, India's having a moment. Apple now sources 20% of its US iPhones from India. That number's only going up. Foxconn and Tata are building 2 more factories for this. The Indian government is helping them expand, fast track customers, and scale up. India now owns more than a backup. It's becoming a core part of Apple's supply chain. But moving production fully out of China, that's not a 90-day project. That's going to take some time. It's a 3-year, $30 billion process at minimum, which means for now, Apple's still very much stuck between Foxconn and a hard place. And Apple, what's next for them? They may delay the price hike until the iPhone 17 drop, but if tariffs don't get reversed, prices will rise. Maybe not overnight, but gradually and painfully. Apple has no exemptions this time. The Trump administration is playing hardball, even with American icons. If prices rise, demand might fall, and if demand falls, Apple's entire upgrade cycle takes a hit. No more yearly phones. So what can we do? Can we skip the upgrades, buy older models, ship to Android? You might not have a choice unless you like $2,300 iPhones. Now, before we go, let's cover what you're going to tell your friends because this is new information. Not a lot of people know about it. Apple airlifted phones to dodge a tax bomb. But even with that effort, it's being felt. Stock prices are down. Consumers are spooked, not knowing what's going to happen next. And global supply chains are scrambling. And Apple's in the hot seat for doing what it always does, keeping the machine running. So here's my question to you. What's next for you? What other wild tricks will companies pull to beat these tariffs? Let me think. They did an airplane. What else could they do? I don't know. Maybe they'll start smuggling them like they're illegals or something, illegal substances. Who knows? What tricks will they pull off to beat these tariffs? iPhones are shipping in containers disguised as avocados, maybe. Laptops with "Made in Delaware" stickers. I don't know. We got to check it out. One thing's for sure: when the economy starts flying iPhones across the ocean, it's time to pay attention.